Hello, my name is Ashley and I'm with the Clinton Public Library, and this is This Week in History. We are going to talk about the 1930 bank robbery of the Clinton Citizen State Bank on December 16th, 1930. A lot of people assume that this was a John Dillinger robbery, but it wasn't. John Dillinger was actually in jail with Bob Clark, Handsome Harry, and Edward Shouse at the time. They were in Michigan City prison. So these are the events as reported in the Daily Clintonian on December 16th, 1930, and the days to follow. Tuesday, December 16th, 1930. Local bank robbed. 2 bandits killed. Deputy Sheriff Joe Walker seriously wounded in fight on highway west of Dana. Blowout on robber's car as they leave bank leads to early capture by posse near Sidell, Illinois. A trail of blood and wholesale auto thievery was emblazoned through the byroads between Clinton, Dana, Ridge Farm, Illinois, and Sidell, Illinois this morning by 5 Chicago gangsters who held up the Citizen Bank here about 9:10 and escaped with about $15,000 in cash and currency. The trail of blood started at Dana, where Deputy Sheriff Joe Walker of Dana, who joined the intensive search for the bandits, was shot by the men in a running gun battle on State Road 36. Walker was shot through the groin with a .45 caliber. He was rushed to Terre Haute Hospital, where his condition is very grave. He was still living at 2 o'clock after going through a 2-hour operation. The trail of blood ended in a cornfield 6 miles north of Sidell, Vermilion County, Illinois, about noon. In the cornfield, the men had rushed in an effort to escape the hundreds of farmers, police officers, and state police and citizens who joined in the hunt for the bank bandits. The posse was led by Chief of the Police Everett Helms and Patrolman Walter Burnside. First ones to get on the trail of the robbers, cornered the 5 men and shot it out with them. Word from Danville, Illinois, out of which Illinois officers were directed, said that the 2 of the 5 had been killed, 1 wounded, and 2 others were still at large. 3 of the 5 bandits had rushed into the Citizens Bank this morning a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and brandishing large automatic revolvers, forced Willis Hedges, cashier, Pete Voto and Lawrence Jackson, assistant cashiers, John Nolan and Luella Coultier, bookkeepers, and John Moore, a patron, into the back room. The gang leader, a large, rough-looking man, forced the 6 to lie face down on the floor and then told Jackson to open the vault in the near room. Hits Jackson with gun. Jackson was struck over the head with the butt of a man's revolver when he declared that the vault would not open until 3 o'clock. The men then went to the front and scooped up all the loose silver and currency amounting to between $10,000 and $15,000. The men scooped the money into the sacks and paper which they carried and then rushed out of the bank into a large Buick sedan, which was waiting outside with 2 companions in it. Fate played its most important part at this time when the driver swung around in the street intersection at Mulberry and Main Streets, and in doing so blew out the right rear tire. The car swerved up on the curve on the right side of the street and then sped out of town by the way of 7th Street and hence out 9th Street on Dana Road. Bank employees phoned police before the bandits were hardly out of the door, and Helms and Burnside were on the trail with a machine gun and other weapons only 2 or 3 minutes after the robbery had been effected. Stopped to change tire. From Fairview, the bandits went north on the Summit Grove Road, where they turned west, their right rear tire practically being burned up. After pulling over to the side of the road, the men changed the tire and started on. They had gone but a half mile when another tire, the right front one, blew out. They pulled into the front yard of Thomas McWavey home. The men started to fix a tire when Jedi Frist, a farmer, drove up in a Buick sedan. The bandits pulled out the machine guns, forcing Frist out of the car. The bandits transferred their supply of ammunition and guns, leaving a small amount of silver. The bandits went north to State Road 36, where they turned west. Deputy Sheriff Walker, riding with Omar Ham, caught up with the men, and a gun battle ensued. Walker was shot in the shooting scrape, in which about 25 shots were exchanged. Take another car. The bandits then commandeered a Chevrolet truck owned by Wells Gilbert, Dana stock buyer, forcing the latter's son out of the machine. The 6 of them drove on to Scotland. Ed Green, a Dana farmer, found Walker lying on the road and took him on to Dana, where a Terre Haute ambulance was called. The bandits, after arriving in Scotland, abandoned the Gilbert truck and took a Ford coupe, leaving Gilbert along the road. Word that Gilbert was kidnapped and taken to Scotland was received when he called Dana, giving the details of the bandits' maneuvers. Stop at farm. The bandits, after leaving Scotland, headed west to Range Farm, where they turned north. Seeing that their gas was running low, the 5 drove into a farm home of Leo Moody, living 6 miles north of Citadel. The bandits intended to hold up Moody, taking his car, but the farmer was suspicious and ran into the house and, picking up his rifle, started shooting at the robbers. The latter group returned fire, but in doing so, the bandits were delayed enough to be caught by Helms and Burnside and the remainder of the posse. One of the men reached into the car to get the machine gun and was shot in the stomach by Helms. One of the 5 gave himself up, and the other 3 ran around the house into the cornfield. One was wounded in the chase, but was able to reach the cornfield back of the barn with his companions. When cornered, 2 of the 3 turned their revolvers on themselves, committed suicide. The other escaped. Those were the articles from the December 16th, 1930 newspaper, the day of the robbery. There was a lot of information, and we decided to take the day after, the articles that were in the December 17th and 22nd newspapers, and move that to a different video so it's not extremely long. So come back next week to see the kind of the aftermath, the day after the robbery, and the rest of the information that they were able to have. I will see you next time.